we begin this morning as the Commonwealth is still reeling from the latest natural disaster to hit the state. While the decision is not in stone, 3 major disasters have been declared in the Commonwealth so far this year, and the most recent storms could require lawmakers to return to Frankfort for a special session. Governor Beshear says it's still going to be a few weeks before his office has hard numbers to present to lawmakers on recovery costs, but once the numbers are ready, he could call that special session for the purpose of creating a safe fund that would help local governments affected by these specific disasters rebuild.
I'm not going to call a special session unless leadership is for it. I want to make sure that if we do it, it's successful and that they feel like they have enough information to be confident in it.
Beshear says he's also likely to request access to more money in emergency funding to help with state costs. That's currently capped at $100 million after an increase in the most recent session. Beshear says a conversation still needs to be had with legislative leaders, and after another deadly tornado in Washington County on Friday morning, that need could be greater. Representative Gordon, I want to start the conversation with you here. Just first, are discussions happening right now in your caucus about this possibility?
Absolutely. We realize that we are the policymakers branch of government, and we are also the stewards for the taxpayers' dollars, and so we are having those discussions because we want to ensure that the resources are there. The need is very great. Over the past, since I have been in office, over the past 7 years, we have had so many natural disasters, you know, the ones that you mentioned this year, but also, of course, the floods in eastern Kentucky and the tornadoes in western Kentucky. And so, unfortunately, this is something that is happening far too often. But we want to be able to support the communities, the emergency workers, our city and local governments, and most of all, the people. They need to know that their elected officials to support them in all ways.
Representative Lehman, let's bring in you here. You also think a special session is necessary?
Well, it certainly sounds like it, and to be honest, I think it's unfortunate, but you know, I think this is now the 13th federally declared weather disaster during Governor Beshear's term. I would think by all accounts, it's, you know, I would say most people agree he's done, and the administration has done an excellent job handling very challenging times. You know, disasters cost what they cost. I'm not sure putting caps on it necessarily helps anything. I am concerned, you know, obviously, look, the Trump administration has floated ideas about cutting FEMA. We have federal issues to deal with, and I worry about these legislatively imposed arbitrary caps that may just, you know, could possibly, you know, in the future delay the state's response. Or, you know, look, the taxpayers are going to have to fund a special session. I mean, it's not cheap to bring 138 people to Frankfort for a couple days. And, you know, like I said, I don't think it would necessarily be that helpful, but it looks like we're going to have to do it. So.
Now, you bring up that emergency funding cap, and I want to note, at least from the governor's comments from Team Kentucky, that is something that would be separate from a safe fund, but that is something that he's also going to be pushing for that cap to be raised. How does that really land when it comes to the General Assembly discussing that, Representative Gordon?
Well, I think it's important that we just don't give a blank check. Like I mentioned earlier, that we are the stewards for the taxpayers' dollars. And so just like a wise carpenter, I think it is very important that we measure twice and cut once, because we want to be able to be judicious in those efforts and provide the appropriate amount of resources.
Your thoughts there?
Yeah, probably. I mean, disagree. I mean, we have a part-time legislature in this state. That's what the Constitution has designed. We have a full-time executive branch, and you know, so that's why our Constitution was designed in the way it was. Obviously, the legislature did pass caps, so that is the law of the land, and the governor is going to respect that. But you know, I don't think we have much evidence that, you know, this administration or prior administrations has abused or, you know, had issues with the way they dealt with funding during emergency situations. So I prefer not to find solutions to problems that don't exist to begin with.
Well, let's briefly walk through at least how this process would generally work. Whenever we last had a special session following the flooding disaster that we had in East Kentucky, I believe that was in 2022, correct me if I'm wrong, we went through that entire process in 3 days. I would originally start in the House. Representative Gordon, you've had a few more years there. From your experience, how does this generally go for people that are unfamiliar?
So to reduce the cost of the special sessions, we run concurrent or companion bills in the House and in the Senate. And so that way we're able to get those bills through our chambers, and then we can pass those respectively, and that greatly reduces the amount of time that it takes. But more importantly, just like now, there will be conversations, and so much of that work will be done before we're ever called into session. So that bill will essentially be in a format where it is ready to go. Naturally, we'll have the opportunity to provide input, but a lot of that work is done.
In the event that there is not a special session, like this is still something that is not concrete yet, what would be the most likely route for recovery that the state has access to right now? Y'all know?
Well, I know we have several funds and grants in place, and of course we support our local and officials.
How much would y'all want to lean on FEMA to I guess, bring in more support if for some reason the state can't?
I mean, that would be preferred, obviously. I mean, we have, one of the nice things about being a very large country is we can share resources when certain parts of the country has issues. And you know, Kentucky's a small state. These are big issues. And we're talking about very serious amounts of money for a state our size. And so, yeah, I mean, federal resources are always welcome in these situations.
Last word on this, Representative Gordon, before we move on.
I would just reiterate, I mean, the need is great. It's known, whether it's you know, housing, food, basic supplies, and but just as a reminder, whether it's federal dollars or whether it's state dollars, those are all taxpayer dollars.